Durarara Ketsu episode 2, dude. Absolutely beautiful. This episode was executed so well. The pacing, the back and forth, the development, the dialogue and direction. As an adaptation right now, this episode is assuaging the bits of apprehension that I had, in last week's episode going into this final core, but, concerning Shinichi and everything like that and how things will play out if there's going to be a negative influence and sort of domino effect because of the lack of his presence. But I want to keep this spoiler free as always, so we're going to save that discussion to the end of the video. But I will say this focus on the women of Ikebukuro and seeing Shingen as narrator for it was perfect, especially in that final scene where Celty collapses after that reveal that Manami chucked her head into the public eye, literally just tossed it from a building into some bushes, and Shingen's coming out and kind of breaking the narration. It was hilarious. He's still ranting on as if he's talking to the audience about the women, and everybody's just turning and looking at him like, what the fuck is this man raving about? Celty's unconscious. Shut the fuck up. But I digress, man. The best part of this episode, there were two for me, but the episode as a whole was amazing, but one being the dialogue between Izaya and ANRI. That shit was real. That shit, the tension in that scene, the depth to Izaya's words and really showcasing his mentality yet again, as if you didn't know Izaya well enough already. But oh my goodness, it's crazy that just ridiculous, anarchistic Joker mentality of just his endgame being toying with the humans that he loves and seeing the interesting things that come as a result. Even saying, and I love how they switched over to the Manami scene of her going over to, meet with NEIKAWA, and he's like, even if a woman would come after me with the intent to kill me, I would still love them. But I need to get into that dialogue, but the next thing I need to mention real quick was that fucking Erika greatness. Like, Erika has never gotten this, much solo shine outside of Walker. That was just so powerful and moving, especially in terms of the bond that she's formed with ANRI and giving her that strength to one, check the power of Saika, and on top of that to, give her, kind of keep her humanity in check and, give her, some sort of pillar to lean upon when right now she's completely in the throes of chaos and has no idea what to do, about Mikado, about Kida and her friends and everything in general. So it was amazing to see that. I want to get into some specifics with that, but let's start with that, and then I gotta talk about Kujiragi and everything like that, and then get into the spoiler stuff that I want to talk about. But let's get into the Izaya dialogue first of all, because the dialogue was so well handled. Like, just the translation of itself. Like, he was like, I would never train, such inhuman eyes upon somebody else like you are. And seeing, ANRI's face, and just that scene with Saika, in her ear the entire time, taunting her, telling her to use her and to allow her to love Izaya in her place and everything like that, how she's weaker than her mother and everything, and she almost lost it. She almost snapped, because of course Izaya is the master troll, and he knows exactly how to manipulate and toy with people's emotions. Straight up, he's like, what have you been doing? She asked him, what have you been doing with Mikado and Kida? What have you been planning? He's like, I haven't done shit. And I say this in all earnestness because I'm about to go in with them. I'm about to start toying with them. And then I'm like, oh my god, here, the man himself, looking Izaya, dude. Like, that's the thing, because everybody knows Shizuo is my best boy. And my feeling about Izaya is just this weird, hatred and yet love, because, them being two sides of the same coin, because I absolutely love his character in this weird, twisted, warped way. But I digress. The metaphor he gives, dude, the analogy that he runs through as far as, the dynamic between Mikado and Kida at this stage, he's like, it's like they're walking a tightrope between two cliffs, each with a rope affixed and tied to the other one's neck. And if one were to fall, the other one would be dragged down head first, dude. And I'm just like, oh my, and the thing about it is that metaphor is powerful because it's so true as far as the tension, the state of Ikebukuro, and how, the dollars and the yellow scars are moving, and these two and their friendship and everything surrounding. He's like, some people, want to help them, like, referencing ANRI or, Dodachin and, Celty, etc., want to lay out safety mats and everything to prevent their fall and everything like that. Others just want to line up and watch the show. Me, personally, I want to set fire to both ends and watch them dance and see what happens. I'm just like, yo, this man is a straight fiend, dude. And then this is where the Erika greatness begins. I mean, it began earlier in the episode where she, Anri comes up wanting to talk to her and everything like that, and she's like, is this a Yuri confession? I was like, I was done. I was like, oh my god, you would love that, wouldn't you, Erika? You'd absolutely love that. But I digress. Just seeing her, like, basically, she's like, the word she said to Izaya in that moment, she's like, stop fucking with my friend, just straight up, or I'll solder your eyes shut with an iron. I was like, yo, don't play with Erika, man. Oh my goodness. But the dialogue between her and Anri, just seeing my girl Erika, because I wanted to see her last week, dude, and that cheerful vibe, we got to get some Walker greatness, but we had no Erika greatness, and seeing her shine, the word she says to Anri, where she's like, even if you were a reincarnated demon that was destined to destroy the world, I would still forgive you and love you. And it kind of mirrors the words that Shinra says to Celty as well in this episode, where he's like, even if you turned out to be an inhuman monster and destroyed everything, as long as I was the last, human alive and got to die in your arms. The fucking OTP, man, is too fucking real. It's too fucking real. Celty and Shinra is amazing. But I digress. Erika had such great shine in this episode. It was amazing. And then that joke where she's like, oh, make sure they checked your brain tissue for real, because, it might look like a kitsune. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. But that aside, Erika was amazing. Like I said, we got to see, my boy Rokujo. I haven't seen the man Rochi in a minute, swaggering in there, picking up Erika's number. Of course, she's so personal and she's so outgoing that of course she's gonna give Rochi his number. Then he tries to put some moves on Anri. He's trying to flex in front of Anri and everything. Like, he has his whole harem behind him, and they're like, yo, chill. What are you doing right now? And even Erika tells him no. She has mad suitors right now. He's like, can I throw my hat into the ring? I'm like, yo, Rochi, I love you, bro, but back up, right? Ease up right now. And then you see the dialogue he has and where his head is at in terms of getting his vengeance on Ikebukuro as a whole, and starting out by paying his respects, quote unquote, to Dorichin. So take that how you will. I can't say any more on that because I don't want to spoil anything, and that's one of the things that gets me with these reviews, that I can't really go to in it. But that aside, let's talk about Kujiragi. And this was one of my apprehensions as far as Shinichi not being there as a narrator, because no one really know that. But then I didn't really occur to me about the fact that, to be completely honest with you, every time a different character narrates, regardless of that character is actually privy to the information or not, they're still able to narrate it. So Shingen being the narrator, I'm not sure if he actually has this kind of insight into Kujiragi at this point in time. Very well could have through Nebula connections and everything like that. But we find out and finally get some insight into Kujiragi and everything like that. As far as, for one, her backstory, you find out that she's actually, the half aunt of Ruri, and that she's 20 years her senior. She was sold off by Ruri's grandmother to Yodagiri Jinai, and that's basically how she got the seat and position after his death and everything like that. Thinking about it this way, if you think about the fact that Ruri and Ruri's mother and Kujiragi were half sisters, that entails the fact that they would share that same half-breed blood, and Kujiragi is in fact a vampire as well, an immortal being, which would explain the fact that she's 20 years older than Ruri but looks sexy as fuck. Okay, so if some people kind of missed that or was glossed over, I just want to clarify that in and of itself. But you see her little quirks and everything like that, buying up the cat ears, looking for places to wear them and everything like that in some weird otaku-esque fashion. It was hilarious. I love to see that exposition. I was worried last week that we weren't going to get that Ruri exposition, just part and parcel from nobody having that information outside of Shinichi. But regardless of that, we don't even really need to talk about that in this review. We don't even need a spoiler section. It'll be fine. That's all I'm going to say about that. But that aside, you also see the scenes with Celty before, finding out that Manami, stole the head, which NEIKAWA was down to go along with it simply because it kind of allowed her to be freed somewhat from IZAYA'S grip and go about her own mission, her own endgame and everything like that, looking for Anri and whatnot and discovering her. So there's about to be a clash between Anri and NEIKAWA, it seems, at the end of this episode and everything like that, while Manami skips away all happy and whatnot, having accomplished her mission to spite Izaya in whatever way possible, taking his most prized possession, Celty's head, and exposing it for all the public to see. So that was amazing. seeing everybody at Celty's house, man, just the vibe, the kind of Walker watching fucking anime on TV, you know, people seeing Shingen sleeping at the mask and whatnot, you know, Seiji's like, what the fuck is this? It was just an interesting dynamic to see that, as well as getting that scene between Celty and Shinra once again, and just I fucking love that pairing, man. As well as seeing, you know, the way, you know, how everything's weighing on Celty's mind as far as, you know, Kujiragi's concerned, as far as, you know, Mikado is concerned, and ANRI and Kida and everything like that. And it was well done, dude. The episode and the pacing, the back and forth, the kind of tying the bow on it with kind of encompassing under this, you know, women of Ikebukuro type thing. It was amazing to see. So I really like that. One thing I did forget about too was the brief conversation between Kine and Mikage at the beginning of this episode, where, you know, basically Kine tells him, Kine tells Mikage, with somebody with a promising future like yourself, you should be wary and be staying away from Izaya. And you can see each of them, and then she's like, I'm well aware. You could see each of them in Izaya's crew definitely does possess their own endgame, their own thing, and realistically, Izaya's well aware of that. But that aside, let me know your thoughts on this episode. I really loved the way this episode was handled, and honestly, with the Kujiragi exposition, a lot of my fears as far as how things will play out, if there will be any deviation with the lack of Shinichi's presence, have been assuaged. I should have just known that they would continue to use character narration in this way to kind of, you know, do that. But even still, and this is kind of pseudo-spoiler, so leave now. Let me know your thoughts on this episode if you don't want to be spoiled. And that's pretty much that. Now, getting into it really quickly, though, without Shinichi and, you know, the playing up, because they briefly, I'm serious, they briefly kind of hint at it back, you know, during the flashback with, you know, Shinra and Izaya and everything like that, but there never has been Shinichi as a presence as a narrator, because of the way they chose to do the narration for the entire series since the very beginning. And as a result of that, I wonder, there's crucial elements of Shinichi information manipulation in the light novels, and just his general influence as far as his eye is concerned and everything like that, that without him being exposed, without any sort of light, and any anime onlys knowing about Shinichi's character as the narrator, and his pull in terms of controlling the, you know, Ikebukuro from behind the scenes, it might have this weird domino effect where certain things lack the exposition that they need, but we'll see how it goes. Personally, I still think that this adaptation is going in 100% on fire. So that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts on this episode, and I'm out. Peace.